How do you know when to change your move when you're dancing? To some extent, this is going to be a matter of personal taste. There are dancers who are quite minimalist. There are dancers who are very busy. The dancers who are very, very busy in their dancing are often people who do a lot of stage performance, particularly competitions, and they're not interacting a huge amount with the audience. Dancers who are a little more minimalist on average are often dancers who might be in a restaurant or at a party and who get really up close with people, and part of their dancing is really emotionally connecting with people and doing a lot more in the dance beyond just the move. So that's a huge generalization, but the point is there's a lot of variation in how complicated your dancing can be, and more complicated does not necessarily mean better. I consider it a very classic sort of improver level mistake to try to change moves too often. Because when a dancer does this, she doesn't look very confident. She looks like she's going, oh, let me entertain you, let me entertain you. Oh no, you might be bored. Let me do this now. Oh, okay, what about this? Do you like this? To me, it always has a whiff of desperation when someone changes moves a lot. Whereas a dancer who just holds this move and maybe does some tiny variations and is just holding it for a while, I would find more interesting to watch because she's adding more nuance to the move she's doing. She's not exhausting me, and she doesn't seem too desperate to entertain me with move after move after move. So I think I personally really have an aesthetic preference for people who are a little bit less busy in their movement on average. So when are you going to change your move as a dancer? This is a big question when people start improvising on their own. The number one thing that I've learned from the dance teacher Morocco in New York is just wait for the music to tell you. You'll sometimes hear me say in classes, if you attend my classes, that some songs we use are hard to perform to because they're too simple. I might say, oh, this is a great pop song to drill to. It's actually really hard to dance to because there's just not enough variety. The music never tells you, hey, it's time to go fast. It's time to slow down. It's time to syncopate something differently. So you can get stuck with a song that doesn't give you enough cues, and then you have to be a little more active. But with a song that's designed for belly dancing or is hugely popular with dancers, usually you've got enough cues in there that you can just listen to what the music is telling you. I'm going to play a classic belly dance song, Aziza, which I've edited to have a very short introduction. And just listening to the first 8 seconds or so, you'll hear a cue to change the music. Here we go. That's a really obvious one. That song opened with a taksim, which is an improvised melody, and boom, some percussion comes in to say, okay, maybe you were just doing a little shimmy to the taksim. Now it's time to really move around the room because here's a bunch more instrumentation. Let's say you start moving around the room and then you're like, okay, well, where's my next cue? One thing to look for is, of course, if there's another dramatic musical change, but let's say there's not. So the next thing you look for could be, where's the end of the musical phrase? So where is the musical phrase stopping after maybe 4 counts, maybe 8 counts, maybe 16 counts to repeat again? So that requires some active listening to a melody or a drum beat in some cases and going, where is it going to repeat? Because that's a good time to change your move or change direction. Let's go to the same song from the beginning. Where I just made a big silly gesture. That's where that song starts to repeat itself. What I do in a choreography is I'm just going to do the same sequence the other direction. So watch me do this sequence and carry on dancing, and all I'm doing to just mix things up is I'm doing the same sequence going the other way. Here we go. So you can hear in that sequence how I heard at first total change in music, and that was my cue for, okay, we're gonna do a completely different move after this tiny little intro. We're gonna walk around. I heard a repetition and then went, okay, we're gonna go the other way. And then instead of repeating 4 times, which you often expect in a belly dance song or a pop song, oh, it's not repeating, it's going to this different music. This could be cueing a shimmy. I'm going to stand there and shimmy. So it wasn't a super dramatic change in move, but I didn't get a 3rd repetition, so I changed my move. So as you dance more and more, you'll get more in the habit of recognizing what's going on in the song. So remembering, even as an improviser, what did I do the last time I heard this musical phrase? And then doing something similar the next time you hear it. One last thing to consider when you're thinking, well, how do I know how to change my move, is consider whether you have heard the phrase before in a song. So 2 minutes on in the same song, if I get that melody again, maybe I'm doing a totally different move. Maybe I'm going to be a few beats late, but that's fine. If I get that melody again, I'm really going to try to do some variation of that Turkish walk, that forward, back, into a hip circle, Turkish walk the other way. And that provides a really nice sense of order and structure for people watching you. People feel lost in a dance if you do not repeat your moves. They don't feel endlessly entertained because it's just a smorgasbord of new things. They're just overwhelmed and they're like, where is this going? It's a bit like a story where you introduce character after character after character, and someone's just like, oh, there's too many characters to keep track of. I kind of want to hear about the first 3 people you've told me about earlier. That's a good way to think about it. Don't introduce so many moves that your audience just feels a bit lost, like they've never really gotten to know any of those moves, and like they don't have a sense of where they are in the music because everything keeps changing in how you interpret it. So when you hear something familiar in the music, whether it's some drums that you shimmied on really hard before, or a melody where you did a certain kind of walk, just try to do that move again. So I hope that that has been helpful for you in thinking when do I change my move when I'm dancing.